LeBron James just finished his 23rd season in the NBA, and by most measures, it was a remarkable one. At 41 years old, he carried the Los Angeles Lakers through stretches of real adversity, stepped up when teammates went down, and delivered performances that would be impressive for a player half his age. He scored in bunches, distributed the ball with precision, and logged heavy minutes night after night. But while James was giving everything he had on the court, something was unfolding behind the scenes that reportedly left him feeling unappreciated by the very organization he had dedicated so much of himself to. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do. And honestly, the best way to back this content up, because every single like pushes this further. So hit it now. According to a report from ESPN's Dave McMenamin, the friction between James and the Lakers front office came into sharp focus following a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers in late March. That night, James made NBA history by surpassing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the player with the most combined wins in league history. It was a milestone of enormous significance, the kind of achievement that should have been celebrated in the biggest way possible. Moments after the final buzzer sounded, General Manager Rob Pelinka walked into the Lakers locker room holding the game ball, but he did not hand it to James. Instead, Pelinka gave the ball to head coach Redick, who had also reached a milestone that evening by recording his 100th win as a head coach. To a casual observer, the gesture might seem like a minor logistical detail, but sources who spoke with ESPN described the moment in much more loaded terms. According to those sources, James read Pelinka's decision as a clear signal that the organization was taking him for granted. Beyond the singular moment, they said it fit a broader pattern of behavior that James had been quietly observing for months. That pattern, sources explained, had its roots in the trade that brought Luka to Los Angeles. James had reportedly felt for some time that the franchise was looking to move past him, and the game ball incident was just the latest confirmation of what he already suspected. What made the situation sting all the more was the context of what James had been doing on the floor. When both Luka and Austin Reeves were sidelined with injuries during the critical stretch run of the regular season and into the early playoff rounds, James was the one who shouldered the load. In the first round series against Houston Rockets, it averaged 23.2 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 8.3 assists per game while playing close to 39 minutes a night. He was 41 years old in the 23rd year of his career, holding the team together while his two principal co-stars sat out. The effort was extraordinary by any standard. The Lakers advanced past Houston before meeting the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round. That series ended in a 4-game sweep. Oklahoma City's combination of depth, athleticism, and defensive intensity proved to be far beyond what Los Angeles could handle, particularly with Dante still not fully available. James played hard throughout, but the gap between the two teams was undeniable, and no amount of individual effort could close it alone. With the season over, James is now a free agent. His 2-year deal has expired, and he has made no announcement about whether he will play a 24th season or where that might happen. After the Game 4 loss in Oklahoma City, he told reporters he intended to take time away to recalibrate with his family before deciding anything. Given everything that had reportedly been building throughout the year, it would surprise few people if that decision leads him somewhere other than Los Angeles. Pelinka addressed the situation at the Lakers' exit interviews, saying publicly that the organization wants James back and will give him the space to make his choice on his own terms. But those words come from the same executive who passed right by James with that game ball back in March. Whether James weighs them as genuine or simply as public relations, and whether they carry enough weight to bring him back to the franchise, is a question that will define one of the most important storylines of the entire NBA offseason. The broader backdrop to all of this is a franchise that finds itself at a genuine crossroads. Luka is the clear centerpiece of the organization going forward, and every decision between now and training camp will be made with that in mind. The front office has cap space and assets to work with, and Pelinka has spoken openly about the need to reshape the roster around its new star. But the LeBron question casts a shadow over every other offseason move the Lakers are contemplating. If James leaves, it signals the definitive close of one of the most celebrated eras in franchise history and forces the organization to move forward without one of the defining players of the modern game. James, for his part, has not tipped his hand publicly. He has been careful to keep his options open, and the reports about his relationship with Pelinka suggest that even if he were willing to return, the dynamics inside the building would need to change in some meaningful way. Trust, once strained, is not easily rebuilt, especially between a franchise icon and the executive who oversees the roster. The coming weeks will test whether Pelinka and James can find a path back to alignment, or whether the game ball moment in that Cleveland visiting locker room turns out to be one of the final chapters in a Lakers tenure that transformed the franchise. JJ Redick just completed his second season as head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and in many respects, it was a successful one. The team won 53 games during the regular season, good enough for a strong playoff seed, and advanced past the Houston Rockets in the first round despite playing a significant portion of that series without Luka and Austin Reeves, both of whom were sidelined by injuries. For a young coaching staff still establishing its identity, reaching the second round while navigating that kind of roster disruption was a meaningful achievement. But the second round brought a cold dose of reality. The Lakers ran into the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champions, and were swept in 4 games. Even accounting for the injuries that continued to limit Doncic during that series, the gap between the two teams was unmistakable. Oklahoma City was simply better built, deeper, and more physically equipped to compete at the highest level. The series made clear that however much progress Los Angeles had made, there was still significant distance between where the Lakers are now and where they need to be to win a title. Redick was direct about that reality in his post-game comments after the Game 4 loss. He made clear that the offseason would be about honest assessment rather than comfort. When asked about the road ahead, he acknowledged that there was much to be proud of in how the team developed throughout the year, but he did not stop there. He praised the players for their growth individually and collectively, noting that what a team becomes is never certain at the start of training camp, and expressing genuine pride in how this group handled adversity. But even as he said that, Redick acknowledged the harder truth that being proud of a team and being championship ready are two different things entirely. He made his position unmistakably clear. The organization is not in the business of being a second-round team. Everyone in the building, from owner Jeannie Buss and new investor Mark Walter to general manager Rob Pelinka and Redick himself, is focused on winning a championship, not simply competing. And by that standard, the current roster is not sufficient. Changes are coming. The next 2 months of roster construction will determine how significant those changes are, and whether the Lakers can close the gap on a Thunder team that looks capable of contending for multiple titles. The numbers support Redick's assessment. With only about 6 players under guaranteed contracts heading into the offseason, Los Angeles has unusual roster flexibility. The team carries roughly $48 million in cap space, a figure that gives Pelinka real options in free agency. The question is not whether the Lakers can add talent. They clearly can. But whether the pieces available on the market are enough to meaningfully change the competitive equation. That will require creative decision-making and perhaps some risk-taking that goes beyond simply filling out a roster with solid role players. Redick also made clear that he wants continuity at the core of whatever version of the Lakers takes the floor next October. He expressed a desire to bring back Luka, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves as the foundation of the team. Doncic is under contract and will return bearing an extraordinary development. Reeves, also under contract, is a key part of the offensive structure and one of the team's most reliable perimeter players. The LeBron situation is more complicated as he is a free agent and has not committed to returning, but Redick made no secret of wanting him back in the fold. The challenge for Pelinka is to honor that continuity while also making the kind of meaningful additions Redick is calling for. That is not always an easy balance to strike, particularly in a league where the best players are rarely available and the teams willing to part with real talent often ask for real prices in return. The sweep at the hands of Oklahoma City was a reminder of how much work remains. Redick is not shy about saying so, and that honesty at least gives the Lakers a clear-eyed starting point for the difficult summer ahead. What makes Redick's candor notable is the environment in which it came. Coaches rarely stand at a podium after a playoff elimination and call out their own roster as inadequate. There is an understandable instinct to protect the players, to frame losses as competitive but unfortunate, and to project optimism about what the future holds. Redick did some of that, but he also went further. He essentially told anyone paying attention that the Lakers are not good enough in their current form, and that meaningful personnel changes will need to happen if the goal is a championship rather than simply another playoff appearance. That kind of directness from a head coach after a difficult series can cut in different directions. It can motivate a front office to act aggressively during the off-season, and it can set a clear expectation for what the coaching staff needs to execute its vision. It can also put pressure on players who know they may not be back, and signal to free agents and potential trade targets that the organization is genuinely serious about making a run. For a franchise still establishing what its Doncic era is going to look like, having a head coach speak that plainly could prove to be exactly the right message to send. The Los Angeles Lakers are officially in off-season mode after being swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the playoffs, and the work of reshaping the roster around Luka begins now. With approximately $48 million in cap space available, general manager Rob Pelinka has meaningful resources to deploy this summer. The question is where to spend them, and one position in particular is drawing significant attention: the wing. According to an off-season analysis published by CBS Sports analyst Sam Quinn, the Lakers are expected to focus heavily on the free agent wing market, and one name stands out as the most compelling available option: Quentin Grimes. The 25-year-old shooting guard is set to hit free agency after completing a one-year contract with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he checks several of the boxes Los Angeles is looking for in a perimeter addition. What makes Grimes especially interesting in the context of the Lakers is his existing familiarity with Dante. The two were briefly teammates with the Dallas Mavericks during the 24-25 season before Grimes was dealt to Philadelphia at the trade deadline. During his time in Dallas, Grimes was trusted with real defensive assignments and demonstrated that he could function alongside elite playmakers without disrupting offensive flow. That experience matters when building around a ball-dominant star like Dante, because not every wing player can adapt to that kind of environment without friction. Grimes posted solid numbers during the regular season with Philadelphia, averaging 13.4 points, 3.6 rebounds, and 3.3 assists in 29.4 minutes per game. He is capable of shooting off movement, handles the ball adequately for his position, and has the athleticism to guard multiple perimeter positions on the defensive end. Quinn specifically noted that Grimes could also absorb some of the playmaking duties that LeBron James currently handles, a relevant consideration given James's status as an unrestricted free agent whose future remains undecided. If James does not return, someone will need to fill part of that creation role, and Grimes has enough skill to contribute in that capacity without being asked to be the primary initiator. However, Quinn was equally clear about the limitations that come with targeting Grimes. His three-point shooting dipped to 33.4% this past season with Philadelphia, a number that falls short of what the Lakers ideally want from a wing adding off Dante. His playoff performance was also modest, as the 76 were swept by the New York Knicks in the second round without making much of an impact on the series. And while Grimes is described as a competent defender, Quinn explicitly noted that he is far from a stopper. And the Lakers' issues against Oklahoma City in the playoffs were partly rooted in their inability to compete on that end of the floor consistently. That defensive limitation is not a small caveat. One of the clearest lessons from the Thunder series was that Los Angeles lacks the kind of elite, versatile defenders needed to compete against a championship-caliber opponent. Oklahoma City was able to attack the Lakers in pick and roll situations and in isolation with relative ease, and no individual on the roster was capable of consistently disrupting those actions. Adding Grimes would help at the margins, but it would not solve the core problem. Still, in a summer where the available wing talent is limited, Grimes represents a practical and affordable option that fits the team's immediate timeline. He is young, knows how Dante operates, and can contribute in multiple ways without demanding a massive contract. For a franchise that needs to add several pieces at once, that kind of flexibility matters. The Lakers have real decisions to make in the coming weeks, and how Pelinka prioritizes the spending of that available cap space will determine whether next season represents a genuine step forward or simply more of the same. The bigger picture is that the Lakers are trying to build something sustainable around one of the most gifted offensive players in the league, and doing that requires more than one well-fitting piece. Dante needs shooters who can space the floor, defenders who can guard the opponent's best wing, and players athletic enough to keep pace in a Western Conference that includes Oklahoma City, Denver, and other well-constructed rosters. Grimes satisfies some of those needs without satisfying all of them, which means he would likely need to be paired with other meaningful additions to make a real difference. The offseason ahead is one of the most consequential in recent Lakers history, with Dante as the franchise centerpiece and a coaching staff that has now 2 full seasons of experience together. The organization has a genuine foundation to build on, but as JJ Redick made clear after the Game 4 loss, pride in the process does not equal readiness to compete for a title. Quentin Grimes may well end up in Los Angeles by the time training camp opens, and if he does, he will bring real value. Whether that value is enough to make the Lakers a legitimate contender is the question that will define this franchise's direction for the next several years.